Hello everyone. This is CLOVA TV. Let's look at one of the world's first Koreans invented. Korea is a single nation with a history of 5,000 years. So there are many interesting inventions. The things that were invented long time ago were groundbreaking at the time, but now they may be obsolete. And some were inventions that provided important moments that changed the history of mankind. Also, some were only important to Koreans. The first subject matter is printing technology. It is a metal type. When it comes to typography, we think of Gutenberg right away in our heads. Yes, in 1415 Gutenberg introduced the technology of type design and mass production to Europe. Gutenberg's real achievement was to combine the use of oil-based ink and woodblock presses with printing technology. An important role in the success of Luther's Reformation in 1517 was that the Bible was printed and distributed in German through the spread of printing. Since then, it is an important invention of humanity that has contributed to attracting public participation by printing the event in writing and delivering it to the public for every important historical event in Europe. Did you know that 78 years before Gutenberg's printing technology in 1415, the same printing technique was already developed and used in Korea?
The first metal printing invented by Korea was called Jikji, the second volume of Anthology of Great Buddhist Priests and Teachings. In 1377, during the Goryeo Dynasty, it was invented and printed by a small temple in the countryside. At that time, Korea was part of the Chinese culture. Korean was used for the language, but Chinese letters were used for the text. With the technology of the 14th century, there was a limit to the publication of a large number of books, so only 10 copies were printed. So, where was this book found? The place where this book was found is in the basement library of the French National Library. It is interesting that a book printed in the 14th century was found in France, not in Korea. It is said that at the end of the 19th century, the French consul in Korea, Victor Colin Duplancy, bought this book on the streets of Korea and sent it to France. Later, in France, after the man died who owned this Jikji book, and in 1950, it was donated to the National Library and it was kept in an underground storage room. Afterwards, the Jikji book in the basement of the library was discovered by Dr. Park Byung-sun, who was working at the National Library, and after a historical test, it returned to the world in 1972 as the world's first book made using metal type printing. Jikji book was exhibited at the Book History Comprehensive Exhibition held in Paris in 1972. And it was revealed that the first metal type invention known to Europeans was not Gutenberg, but Korean Jikji. This Jikji book is currently kept at the French National Library. Although Korea continues to request for return, Korean doesn't think there is a possibility of returning the book because it went to France through purchase, which is a legal method. Jikji, the first metal type printing book, was registered as a UNESCO World Record Heritage Site in 2001. The use of Chinese letters in Korea continues until the early 20th century. Therefore, a book called Jikji is printed in Chinese letters. Here we need to take a moment to check the characteristics and differences between Chinese letters and the alphabet. Chinese letters are said to have 36,000 letters as of now. In other words, a simple result is that it is possible to print only when a character metal pattern is made of more than 30,000 metals. There must have been a limit to cover the cost of making all metal type at a small temple in a rural village at the time. On the other hand, European letters are made up of a combination of each alphabet. In the case of English, it consists of 26 alphabets, and it is a structure in which words are made through a combination of these alphabets. So if you make 26 metal type, you can print immediately. While the difference in characters was difficult to use in Asia even though a new printing technology was uninvented, in Europe, we can see the difference that made a huge contribution to the development of mankind. Korea's metal type technology, the first in the world, do not affect society, and technology development is also taking place at a slow pace. In contrast, in Europe, 20 million books were printed over 50 years after Gutenberg's typography became popular. And by the middle of the 16th century, 60 million books were printed in Germany alone, playing an important role in human knowledge. We looked at Korean Jikji books 78 years earlier than Gutenberg's metal printing, and also explained why Korea, unlike Europe, could not make a great cultural contribution. Jikji, the world's first Korean metal type book in 1377. That's it for today's video.
If you are curious about the next video, press the button. Please don't forget to click the subscribe, like, and alarm buttons. From COVID-19, always be careful for the safety of you, your family and your neighbors.